Let us pray. In our mind's eye, let us see the awesome grandeur of the Rockies, the denseness of our forests, the fertility of our farmland, the splendor of our rivers, the richness of our resources. Then, O Lord, let us rededicate ourselves as wise stewards of such bounty on behalf of all Albertans. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Meadowlark.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 251, being the Forestry Industry Development Administration Act. This bill addresses the problem of a conflict of interest which currently exists in the Department of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife, since that department has the responsibility both for protecting features of the environment and, on the other hand, for promoting forest industry development. This bill would see that latter responsibility shifted to the Department of Economic Development and Trade.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Meadowlark has moved first reading of Bill number 251, Forest Industry Development Administration Act. All those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill 251, Forest Industry Development Administration Act, introduced by the Honourable Member, Mr. Mitchell, is now read a first time.
Calgary Northwest.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to introduce Bill number 223, the Alberta Economic Diversification Board Act. The purpose of this board, Mr. Speaker, would be to create an economic diversification board which would investigate all loans and loan guarantees granted by the government and to advise the government on its role in economic diversification.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Northwest has moved first reading of Bill 223, Alberta Economic Diversification Board Act. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill 223, Alberta Economic Diversification Board Act, introduced by the Honourable Member, Mr. Brusaker, is now read a first time. Tabling returns and reports.
The Honourable the Minister of Health.
Sorry, nothing, Mr. Speaker. I do, but I don't know what they are.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Utilities.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce to you and through you to the members of this Assembly 13 enthusiastic students from the Calvin Christian School of Monarch, Alberta, on behalf of my seatmate and colleague, the Honourable Leroy Fjordbotten, the MLA for McLeod. They are accompanied by teachers W. DeVos and H. Den Hollander. And earlier today, they did meet with their MLA. They are in the members' gallery, and I would ask all members to give them the warm welcome of this Assembly. If they would stand, please. The Honourable Member for Cardston, followed by Edmonton Gold Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce to you and to the Assembly this morning 18 students from the Glenwood Junior High School who are visiting Edmonton for a few days. They're accompanied by their teacher, Doug Smith, who is principal of the school, and Boyd Sommerfeld. Also parents Vicki Smith and Carol Sommerfeld. They're seated in the public gallery, and I'd like to have them stand and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly this morning.
Member for Edmonton Gold Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased this morning to introduce to you and other members of the Legislative Assembly 19 students from Bonnie Doon High School in beautiful Gold Bar. They're accompanied by their teachers, Deborah Crawford Young and Elaine Langston, and they're seated in the public gallery. I'd ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of the House.
The The honourable member for Edmonton, or for Clover Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce to you and through you to the members of the Assembly 45 grade 10 students from the Fort Saskatchewan High School in the Clover Bar constituency. I wanted to take and make a particular welcome to one of the students that's with them, an exchange student from Sweden, Stefan Appelblad. The students are accompanied by their teacher, Judith Axelson, parent John Luchko, and bus driver Darren Shep. They're seated in the members' gallery. Mr. Speaker, I would ask them to rise, and I would ask the members of the gallery to extend their cordial, warm welcome.
The honourable member for Highwood.
Mr. Speaker, indeed a pleasure today to introduce to you 37 musically talented students from the J.P. Foster Junior Band in Nanton. They are accompanied today by Mrs. Pauline Green, Mr. Martin Tedichuk, Mrs. Karen Gould, Mrs. Jillian Schmidtke, and Mrs. Sandy Smith, and their bandmaster, Mr. Darrell Croft. They're located in the public gallery. They will be giving a concert this afternoon at 12 o'clock in the amphitheater. I'd ask them to stand and receive the warm traditional welcome of this assembly.
Ministerial statements.
Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, June 3rd marks the beginning of Environment Week 1990. Our environment is something to appreciate and celebrate every day of the year. But once a year, through Environment Week, we pay special tribute to the beauty and richness of our unique Alberta landscapes and resources that are so important to us and our children. Our environment needs you has been chosen as the theme of Environment Week 1990. It is appropriate because every Albertan must share the responsibility for protecting the environment for future generations. This is our challenge, Mr. Speaker, as we enter a new decade of increased environmental awareness. I am confident that together we will meet the challenge because Albertans have a tradition of success based on resourcefulness and independence. Environment Week will be celebrated across Canada during the week June 3rd to 10th, 1990. The Alberta program has been growing steadily, and this year it is hoped that more Albertans than ever will participate. Alberta Environment has been actively celebrating Environment Week since 1982. It is committed to achieving the protection, improvement, and wise use of our environment now and into the 21st century. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge every Albertan to get involved with the Environment Week activities in their community and to join us in celebrating our environment from June 3rd through the 10th. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's always nice to hear lots of rhetoric from the Minister of the Environment on Environment Week. I notice he says, our environment needs you. It's been chosen as the theme of the Environment Week. Well, Mr. Speaker, our environment needs a minister, Mr. Speaker, that's prepared to stand up against this government. That's what it needs, Mr. Speaker. And rather than rhetoric, Mr. Speaker, if you really cared about the environment, Mr. Speaker, what we would be doing is having proper EIA hearings in Diashawa, and we'd be guaranteeing promises for EIA hearings with the ALPAC proposal, Mr. Speaker. We'd be promising that. And we'd be putting our money where our mouth is, Mr. Speaker. And the other thing we could be doing is setting up a recycling industry with a de-inking plant, Mr. Speaker. And I say to the minister, talk is cheap. And he says, Mr. Speaker, that he wants every Albertan to get involved with Alberta Environment Week. Well, start talking to your backbenchers. They're the ones that should be getting involved in Environment Week, Mr. Speaker. That's what you're talking about. So, Mr. Speaker, hard to, again, disagree with the words in this, Mr. Speaker, but it's hollow, very hollow, Mr. Speaker. People know the stand that this government has for the environment.
Oral question period.
For the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Premier, Mr. Speaker, Now that we've had a chance to review the entire legislation that the government introduced yesterday in regards to AGT, it's clear, Mr. Speaker, even clear that this government has sold Albertans right down the river with the privatization of AGT, along with loss of provincial control in this matter, Mr. Speaker. The Premier made a big deal in his speech yesterday about the government's so-called golden share. What a nice name, golden share. Mr. Speaker, we've said before that this government can't be trusted, Mr. Speaker, and this special share is a perfect example of why this government shouldn't be trusted, Mr. Speaker. If you've got the stomach to read all the way through to the end of this thing, you'll see the last page of the bill says this special share will be automatically repealed in 5 years, Mr. Speaker. Automatically repealed in 5 years. So much for protecting Albertans from rate increases and service cuts. A phony promise, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Premier, how can you say that you're keeping any control at all for the few rights the government has? Those few rights will be gone in 5 years unless you decide to give them away sooner.
Second reading. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition knows the correct way to deal with legislation is to go through second reading, committee study. Now, you give them the courtesy of listening to them. You think they'd return the courtesy of listening. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications is responsible for the bill in the House. He may want to augment my reply.
Mr. Speaker, I look forward to the debate on this bill as it will proceed in a logical fashion through this Assembly. But I must point out to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition that there are a number of fundamental protections in this bill that are there and there forever. What the golden share or special share does is add an extra protection there for a period of time, at least during the period in which the company turns over to private ownership. But the fundamental changes that are reflected through the special share are there and will remain there in the legislation.
That's a bunch of nonsense. Mr. Speaker, first of all, any bill can be changed by a stroke of the pen, as you did with AEC, to say it'll be there forever. The minister knows that's not the truth. Mr. Speaker, he says we can proceed logically. This is not a logical bill. We want to stop it before it comes to second reading, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, for the first time ever, you're forcing AGT to pay income taxes to the feds, and also AGT is going to be subject to the GST of all things. Everyone knows that AGT's costs will rise, so will the people's rates, Mr. Speaker, the consumers. My question then to either of the gentlemen, I thought he brought in the ministerial statement, but either of them, does the minister, the Premier, really believe that anyone will follow these hollow promises that rates and services will not suffer? Does anybody really believe that's the case?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think it's very unfortunate that already in about 24 hours we've seen a tactic coming from the official opposition of scare tactics. We've seen it before, and we'll see it again. And if it isn't scare tactics, it's straight ideology. And when we get rid of the ideology and get on to the reality, we will see exactly what this will do for all Alberta and for AGT in particular. But Mr. Speaker, I must say that with respect to the tax situation, it's misleading in the extreme to say that taxes will lead to skyrocketing rates. The current tax laws provide very clearly, and I invite the honourable member to check this out, as indeed we have and received these assurances, that the taxes to this company will be minimal for several years. For several years, Mr. Speaker.
You're right, it's scare tactics. People should be scared of this government, Mr. Speaker. We know what their promises were in the past, Mr. Speaker. And we want to fight this government back in every possible way, because this is a bad deal for Albertans, Mr. Speaker. I give no apologies for that, Mr. Speaker. It's obvious. Prices go up. The GST goes up. We pay taxes. Rates are going to go up, Mr. Speaker. Even Adam Smith would understand that, Mr. Minister. Now, my question to the minister, will the minister admit that there is nothing this government can do if the new private AGT says it has to raise its rates to cover federal and provincial taxes, including the GST?
You're helpful. Mr. Speaker, 70% of all Canadians are regulated in a just and reasonable way by the CRTC. That will continue. The type of companies that are regulated there are private companies. I don't see their rates as being excessive or gouging or anything like that. They pay tax, and indeed there will be fair and reasonable regulation with a public process which will ensure rates will be fair and reasonable for the subscribers of Alberta.
Put your faith in all. Yeah, trusting. He loves Brian Mulrooney. He trusts him, Mr. Speaker. He's probably the last person in Canada that trusts Brian Mulrooney, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, my second question, again, has to do with the Premier's speech yesterday, where he said he wanted every man, woman, and child to participate in the profits and growth of AGT. Well, Mr. Speaker, I might remind the Premier that dividends exist now for all those people that he's talking about because we have good rates in the province, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, it's pretty crazy logic, even coming from the Premier, Mr. Speaker. As I said, considering every man, woman, and child already owns AGT, Mr. Speaker. But let's look at a part of that, Mr. Speaker. The fact is that only those Albertans who can afford to buy shares will own the company in the future, Mr. Speaker. Your interest-free loans and installment plans will only benefit a few Albertans, Mr. Speaker, not every man, woman, and child. Mr. Speaker, so what you'll have is the taxpayers subsidizing the wealthier people in the society, Mr. Speaker. That's what it's all about. I would remind, if you lived in the real world, majority of people cannot afford investments, Mr. Speaker. Maybe they can with the crowd he runs with, Mr. Speaker. Now, my question to the Premier is this. How is it that the Premier can afford to help wealthier Albertans take over ownership of the AGT when it can't even afford to give poor Albertans a renter's tax credit and thousands of Alberta children are going to school hungry?
Mr. Speaker, it was one of the worst framed questions I've ever heard in my life. It has absolutely nothing to do with the opportunity that is being given to Albertans. Every man, woman, and child, I hope they do. I hope they make a lot of money on it. And Mr. Speaker, let's remember something. The socialists are having a bad year these days. The old state control gang don't like it. They don't like competition. They don't like investments. They don't like profits. They don't like payrolls which give people jobs. They don't. You really got them going. They don't like seeing an Alberta company able to go out and compete all over the world. One of the great global telecommunications companies in the world. Poor Pammy. So, Mr. Speaker, Albertans know about the opportunity that they're being offered. And you will see that while this gang have no confidence in Albertans, no confidence in Albertans being able to invest and make money and know when they have a good opportunity. The old blues group over there who want to control everything, want the state controlling, dictating, that isn't happening. This is an opportunity for individual Albertans believing in enterprise, investment, and believing in taking risks and gaining the benefits.
Here, here, here.
Supplemental question? Yes, Mr. Speaker. Real risk-taking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Give government money to the wealthy, Mr. Speaker.
The
Some
buck.
risk, eh? Some risk. Tory free enterprise, Mr. Speaker. That's the way.
Outrageous.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I'd remind this premier that wants to sell off everything. He'd probably sell off his mother if there's a profit
That's
there,
right.
Mr. Speaker.
Hear him.
That 50 years ago,
No way.
50 years ago, Mr. Speaker, AGT was set up to provide a service for the people of Alberta.
That's right.
Mr. Speaker.
No. No.
The chair was wondering whether the honourable leader of the opposition might like to reconsider his characterization of the Premier's outlook on life.
He's made it
Mr.
pretty
Speaker,
clear.
that's not on parliamentary at all,
No.
Mr. Speaker.
Absolutely
And it's
not.
precisely the rhetoric
sounds
that he
water.
used, Mr. Speaker. I can use the same sort of rhetoric back.
That's
If he can't
right.
take it, too bad, Mr.
That's
Speaker.
right.
Now, Mr. Speaker, to come back to the Premier, that over 50 years ago, AGT was set up for a reason, Mr. Speaker, and it served the people of this province well, rather
Hear,
than
hear.
using your right-wing rhetoric here, Mr. Speaker.
Here, here.
And a question I want to ask the Premier, Mr. Speaker, is a very serious one. Just how much is this interest-free loan scheme to help out his friends going to cost the taxpayers of Alberta?
Yeah, let's hear the numbers.
Mr. Speaker, it's with some disappointment that I recognize that the Leader of the Opposition is so devoid of arguments on policy matters that he feels he now wants to somehow attack my family and my belief in my family. Now, I'm very disappointed in him. I actually, over a period of time, felt that he had some higher feeling of his responsibility in this legislature. And I hope that he'll learn from that it brings absolutely no credit on him or no credit on his party. Mr. Speaker, in the coming weeks, the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications will obviously be able to get into more details with the honourable members. But obviously you'd have to know the size of the offering, Mr. Speaker, the price. You'd have to know the number of shares that are taken up by Albertans. Listen, in a way, it's so disappointing that they have such a lack of grasp of the opportunity that's being given to people in this province.
Supplemental question?
Well, I am so disappointed that the Premier is disappointed in me.
Thin so skin, isn't it?
Thin so skin.
Thin so skin.
Mr. Speaker, and following up from the Premier's answer then, is he telling this Assembly that they have absolutely no idea how much this is going to cost to pay their wealthier friends to take over our own telephone system, Mr. Speaker? That's what he is saying to us?
You bet.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member surely is smarter than that. Now, obviously, is his researchers giving him a question which he reads blindly, doesn't listen. Now, come on. I've just told them that it obviously depends on the size of the offering. It depends on the price of the shares. It depends on the amount that Albertans take, obviously. Now, surely I'm not going to get into that kind of stuff with him. I think I'm going to go back to what I thought before this morning, that he is a man of some credit and ability, and forget what he's been saying this morning.
The honourable member for Calgary Northwest.
He's looking for more.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today the government falls. Mr. Speaker, regarding AGT, there's no doubt that AGT is a very advanced technological company and it does provide a valuable service for Albertans. But unfortunately, the bottom line is that AGT is a badly managed and inefficient company. It cannot stand on its own and compete in a global market, which is what this province and this government wants it to do. Since its inception, AGT has served a valuable role in delivering social policy and government policy, and it's delivered that very well. But now what must happen, Mr. Speaker, is that the corporate leanness that is necessary in order to sell this company has not been achieved. And I believe that this government owes it to Albertans and to the employees of AGT to hold on to AGT and not sell it until AGT can stand on its own 2 feet. My question to the Premier is this. According to 1988 statistics, AGT has 1 employee for every 88 access lines. Bell Canada has 1 employee for every 147 access lines. How does the Premier expect AGT to compete considering the current level of inefficiency that these statistics show?
Well, Mr. Speaker, statistics brought out of whatever and for whatever purpose. I can't make any head or tail of that, but I know what people of Alberta are saying about AGT. They think AGT is well run, well managed, and well respected. And the point is that we want to keep an AGT here in Alberta that is able to capitalize on the worldwide opportunities that exist in telecommunications, and in that way bring further jobs, further skills, further technology to this province. And they can do it. They're not afraid of competition as long as it's on a fair playing field, and you just watch. You'll see it.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think it's a crying shame that the minister of this government doesn't know what the statistics are for the company that he's supposed to be overseeing. Find out what's happening, Mr. Minister. AGT currently receives 69% of its total revenue from long-distance lines. Bell Canada gets 50%. My question to whoever decides to answer it over there, presumably the minister for the company, how does this government expect AGT to be able to compete against companies like Unitel that have put in an application to compete on long-distance rates unless they will either raise their local rates, which the bill says they can't do, or you're going to drive them into receivership?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't know where that honourable member is coming from or his party. Yesterday we heard about them being in favour of privatization in principle, and I just don't know what they're talking about today. The fact of the matter is that if Unitel comes in, as indeed it will, as indeed will other competitors, AGT is going to have to compete. And the very reason why we have this reorganization bill before this Assembly is to position AGT for competition. If you leave AGT the way it is now, it's got 2 sources of revenue, basically. It's got long-distance revenues and local revenues. And long-distance revenues are coming down by virtue of rate rebalancing everywhere, not just here, everywhere. And if you want to leave it only with local rates to come up to replace that revenue, in order there be monies for providing for new technologies and competing, then so be it. But we think that the best way to go, and indeed Albertans feel the best way to go, is to make sure that AGT has those opportunities to compete in a world-class telecommunications industry.
Mr. Speaker, what we said yesterday and what we're saying today is we're not opposed to privatization, but prove to us that it's a good deal. And so far, we haven't seen that. My final question to the minister then, Mr. Speaker. AGT employees generate about $92,000 per employee. Bell Canada each Bell Canada employee generates about $120,000 per employee, again showing the inefficiency. Does the government expect AGT to raise those local rates by 33% to make up that shortfall and then pass on those rates to the ratepayers?
I think the honourable member, Mr. Speaker, is only pointing out the type of productivity that can come through private ownership. At the same time, as far as rates are concerned, they will be regulated in the public interest and through a public process in order to ensure that they are just and reasonable.
Honourable member for Banff Cochrane. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the questions that have been asked by the opposition this morning, I firmly believe that the most important issue facing this House, this province, and this country today in Canada is the Meech Lake impasse. My question, therefore, is to the Honourable Premier. In light of the fact that it appears that the 2 main issues yet to be decided in the Meech Lake issue, namely Senate reform and the issue of Quebec's Distinct Society Clause, And in light of the fact that there is a meeting set for this Sunday with the First Ministers, would the Premier please indicate to us what initiatives Alberta will be bringing to that discussion on Sunday?
Mr. Speaker, I should confirm that I've now received a letter from the Prime Minister setting the time of 6:30 on Sunday, the Canadian Museum of Civilization, for a private meeting of 11 First Ministers. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that the initiative that the Alberta government can continue to provide here is one of pressing all First Ministers to make sure their number one principle is a united Canada. We have a responsibility as leaders to build a great nation. We know that it will not be a great nation unless it is united. And therefore, the number one issue we'll be pressing will be a united Canada. But in order to try and work through the constitutional impasse that we face, Alberta feels that it may be possible through a political accord, a declaration of commitment for the second round of discussions, that we can get enough commitment from all of the First Ministers that it will provide satisfaction to those who have concerns, and that we can then deal with Meech Lake as a constitutional accord and quickly get on to the next round, which I know the number one issue, and the number one issue, Mr. Speaker, while it was the number one issue for our government and for me as Premier, being Senate reform, is now the number one issue for Canada, and I'm extremely pleased about that. So I hope that we can develop a commitment of principles, a declaration of honor amongst the First Ministers that would lead us into the second round. There still is a very small potential that there could be a constitutional accord parallel to Meech Lake. But my assessment of talking to the First Ministers, it would be very difficult to do that, have it proceed through 10 legislatures, the House of Commons and the Senate, by June 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, to the Premier, in the event, and then certainly it's my hope that the meeting on Sunday will result in either a First Minister's conference or additional meetings on Monday, does it remain the Premier's position that in order to have uniformity of approach in this House, that he would invite the leaders of the opposition to participate in those further meetings?
Well, you know, you might have some second guesses after this morning, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, obviously the dinner for 11 First Ministers is not an opportunity for leaders of the opposition or the leader of the Liberal Party to participate. But if, as the member for Banff Cochrane speculates, we are able to go into a First Minister's meeting, a public First Minister's meeting, the next day or at any time in the future to try and solve the Meech Lake problem. It is still my position that the leader of the official opposition and the leader of the Liberal Party join us as observers and as people who we might consult with and discuss this very, very important issue. And I have asked the Department of Federal Intergovernmental Affairs and my own office to put in place the arrangements for them. I understand it's difficult for them because they would have to travel on the Sunday, not knowing if there's a meeting or not at 9 a.m. on Monday. But I asked them to make the judgment with whether they want to take that opportunity.
Now, the member for Vegreville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Two programs that AGT has that help rural Albertans enjoy the benefits of a modern telecommunication system at a reasonable price, individual line service program and the extended flat rate calling program, were made possible because AGT is a company that has as its mandate providing service to all Albertans, not a company whose mandate is to provide a profit for a few shareholders. And I'd like to ask the Honourable Premier, as one rural Albertan to another, how he can justify supporting this massive sellout of an important resource of this province when he knows darn well that it's going to mean rural Albertans have to pay through the nose for basic telephone service in the years ahead.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member's question is just full of false assumptions. This is not a massive sellout. This is an opportunity for a great company to be able to grow, expand throughout the world, places where the Alberta government has no place to be, and at the same time provide a superb service here in urban and rural Alberta, and it will. And why he has such a lack of confidence in Albertans to keep coming up with his gloom and doom scenario, I don't know.
Mr. Speaker, a lack of confidence in the Premier and his word, a word that likely wouldn't... Assurance is not worth enough to buy one of the shares that he plans on offering, and I'd like to ask the Premier, given the fact that once this sellout is complete, the government will no longer have ownership control of AGT, and they no longer have regulatory control over AGT, how can he stand there and pretend that rural Albertans won't experience a compromise in service and an increase in rates in the years ahead?
Mr. Speaker, it's a good debate. The honourable member doesn't believe in competition. The honourable member doesn't believe in ownership by individuals. The honourable member believes in state control, socialism, and we don't, and Albertans don't.
Agreed. The honourable Minister of Technology. And not only that, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member doesn't listen. We've indicated time and time again, rates and services for rural and urban are regulated by a public regulator and a public process. All of the programs for rural Alberta, extended flat rate calling and ILS, will be folded in and honored. EFRC will continue. It will continue to be expanded and indeed will be enhanced. And we indicated we would have an announcement on June the 15th in that regard.
The honourable member for Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Back again to the Premier. I guess he can guess what, AGT. But, Mr. Speaker, according to the Prairie Provincial study done by the Saskatchewan telephones, last time I looked, it was run by a bunch of Tories. It says, quote, basic telephone service rates would have to rise substantially in the event of competition along long-distance service and its associated impact on toll service rates. Rural subscribers would suffer the greatest disadvantage under competition. Rural rates could rise by as much as 168%, even if there was no tendency to cover all local access costs from these subscribers. That's from the Conservative research into what will happen to local calls down the road. But knowing now, my first question to the Premier then, Mr. Speaker, is knowing that competition is coming and knowing that the rural users will be hardest hit, what is the Premier prepared to do to ensure that rural ratepayers will not be hurt?
Mr. Speaker, with respect to the study that the honourable member refers to, if he will look at that study, he will see that the assumptions made in that model late back to 1985, certain percentages were pulled out of the air with respect to that assumption for the purposes of establishing the model that are totally unrelated, for example, to the application now being brought forward by Unitel. The study indicated that there would be an assumption of a 25% reduction in long-distance rate and that the competitor would automatically achieve a 20% share of the market. What it didn't say was that there would be the basis upon which the competition would be established. In Unitel's application that they have brought forward, they say we are willing to pay in order to establish a fair playing field for competition. And it does not relate in any way to the types of statistics that were forthcoming in that report. The AGT is not afraid of competition, Mr. Speaker, so long as that competition is on a fair playing field.
The Speaker, sounds like the government is trying to unload a dog instead of trying to improve the management itself so it could be at least a leaner and a better package. Now, I'd like to go a bit further then. If indeed, as the ministers keep saying, that the rural people have nothing to worry about, is the Premier prepared to sign a pact, in blood if necessary, that there will be no increases other than inflation rates for rural subscribers over the next 10 years?
Well, Mr. Speaker, first of all, I don't agree with the honourable member in saying that AGT is a dog. It is not. It's a very well-respected and well-managed company. And it has an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, in order to fulfill its real mandate as a worldwide telecommunications. Mr. Speaker, the rural rates as urban rates are regulated in the public interest through a public process. That is there, it's fair, it's reasonable, it covers 70% of all Canadians now. There is no difference from the standpoint of rural and urban as far as the regulator favoring one or the other. Rates will change over the years, there's no doubt about that, not by virtue of privatization, but by virtue of rate rebalancing, which is going on worldwide. It's not a cop-out, honourable member. It's happening in areas where there are private companies already, and as well as Crown-owned corporations. So it's happening, and it's happening out there, but it will happen in a regulated, fair, and just way that allows a full public process. Rural residents and subscribers are safeguarded by that process.
The honourable member for Redwater, Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question today is to the Minister of Agriculture. And on Monday, the Minister of Agriculture and the Associate Minister of Agriculture and also the Federal Minister of Agriculture announced a $100 million Farm Income Assistance Program, and that's to offset low commodity prices, particularly in grains and oilseeds. And since we all know that agriculture is a very vital industry in this province, question to the minister is, could the minister inform the House on when farmers will know the terms and conditions of this program?
Mr. Speaker, we've been working this week in order to try to develop a program under the following principles. We wish to come up with a program that would flow some of this money through to all farmers in recognition of low commodity prices, high interest rates. We wanted a program that was production neutral, that in no way sends signals on what to grow, and we wanted to address any weather-related areas of hurt in the province which had not been addressed already through existing programs. We've came up with a program consisting of two components, which is being announced publicly today. First, all the farmers in the province will be eligible for a payment of $4.10 per acre on all improved seeded acres, including forage based on 1989 acres. Payments will not be made on acres that were in summer fallow. Also excluded will be the forage acres in the Northwest Area Disaster Assistance Program region, which were already paid under the disaster program. Second, farmers in the multi-year disaster benefit area of southeastern Alberta, which have suffered consecutive, and I stress consecutive, years of drought, have been targeted for an additional payment of $3 per acre, with the exception of summer fallow and irrigated land.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I think the farmers will be pleased with the outline of the program, and since spring seeding is, the majority of it is done, there is a need for cash in rural Alberta. Could the minister inform the House on how soon farmers will be able to apply and where the application forms will be?
Mr. Speaker, the application forms will be available at all district agricultural offices. In communities where there is not a DA's office, but a grain company is prepared to participate, they'll be available at the participating elevators. It's our intent that application forms and program detail will be in all of those locations prior to the middle of June, and that we will start processing applications immediately upon receipt.
The honourable member for Edmonton Kingsway.
Speaker, to the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunication. The provincial government has lost control of the regulation of the telephone industry in this province to the feds under the CRTC. Now they're voluntarily giving up the rights of ownership of AGT. Can the minister tell me how he's going to deliver on his promise that he made before the Chamber of Commerce in Edmonton, that there is no way that that company will fall into the hands of CNCP or Rogers Telecommunications or any other foreign company?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think the answer is very, very obvious. What we're doing is we're allowing every Albertan the opportunity of acquiring this company. We're not putting it out to sale to CNCP or Rogers or to Bell or anyone else.
My second question is to the Premier. In case this government forgot it signed a free trade deal that limits the right of Canada to restrict foreign ownership of companies, how long is the 10% limit on foreign ownership of AGT going to last under the free trade deal?
Doesn't have any honor. The honourable member is so badly misinformed about the free trade deal that the question hardly merits an answer.
As usual, when you don't have an answer, you...
Order in the Assembly, please. The Honourable Member for Edmonton Gold Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, despite AGT's good service and advances in technology, I think there's some serious questions that can and should be raised about the efficiency of the company. And we understand that they have a heavy reliance on long-distance revenues. Mr. Speaker, we have some serious questions about AGT's capacity to withstand the pressures of a very competitive new market, particularly with the kind of restraints that the government is imposing on them. And I think there's going to be immense pressure to place social goals in a secondary position. Within this uncertain context, we see the government's desperate need for cash. Mr. Premier, you're asking Albertans to trust you. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I apologize. Mr. Speaker, the government is asking Albertans to trust the government by buying a company that we already own. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that Albertans need far more information about this company and its future. Now, unquestionably, the government has done a great deal of research before this proposal is reached. Now, my question is to the Premier. Will the government commit to release the studies that have been done that will give Albertans a true idea of the investment that you're asking us to make? The questions are going to be on the order paper, Mr. Speaker, but I believe that Albertans are sophisticated folk, and I think they deserve more than just trust me in this one.
Mr. Speaker, my honourable good friend, is now not only asking the question but answering them as well. And the reason is because she asked it yesterday and got an answer. And that is that for anything that the member of the House here would like to have tabled in the legislature is a process. We put it on the order paper and the House deals with it. And that's the way we'll continue to do it.
Not good enough. Mr. Speaker, I want the Premier to commit to provide this information to Albertans, not just put them on the order paper. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier then agree to suspend this bill for the summer months to allow for public meetings across Alberta and consultation with the people of Alberta and with the particular community groups such as AAMD&C and AUMA and others that are mightily interested in the outcome of this bill?
Mr. Speaker, as I also said yesterday, this is a policy decision by the government. We've made the choice. We are here to govern. We're here to provide leadership. That's what we're going to do. We have made the decision. We've told the people of Alberta about this tremendous opportunity which they'll be able to participate in, and we're going to make sure it happens.
Agreed.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Jasper, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've heard a lot of new promises today from your Conservative government. I'd like to deal with some of the old promises, like Alberta Environment's commitment to Albertans, promising them the opportunity to understand and provide input to decisions affecting our environment in everything from legislation to land use planning. Or the mission statement, 25,000 copies mailed out promising Albertans will have every opportunity to understand and provide advice on decisions affecting our environment. Public participation through information sharing, education, and consultation. Those were the promises. And there were further specific undertakings by the minister and by his officials for a public review of operating licenses for pulp mills. Well, since that time, Mr. Speaker, every one of those commitments has been overruled by the balance of this government. We've had pollution permits issued without consultation. We've had game ranching brought in without any consultation, letters of permission, overriding permits. I know it's a lengthy list. I wish with all my heart it were a much shorter list, Mr. Speaker. My question is a simple one to the Premier. Why should Albertans now trust this government to make decisions on a broad range of complex environmental issues when every substantial commitment, every one made by this Environment Minister, has been overridden and violated by this government?
It is a simple question. It takes a simple answer, Mr. Speaker. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier dangerously underestimates the hurt feeling of Albertans by the actions of this government. He and his cabinet colleagues were hung in effigy in Calgary the other day. There's a group going up to Daiashawa this weekend. I think he should start to take responsibility for some of his actions instead of silly reports like that one. When a government repeatedly violates its most basic commitments to involve people in making decisions, that government has lost the trust of Albertans. Has the Premier considered the consequences to his government of destroying the trust of Albertans and violating and reneging these commitments, and in particular the refusal to agree to a public review of the ALPAC 2 process?
Mr. Speaker, you'll have to decide whether there was a question in there with all that rhetoric based on a bunch of baloney. I would say this, though, Mr. Speaker. The people of Alberta have got an outstanding, respected Minister of Environment. Who is doing a superb job and will continue to do so. And when that happens, as it is happening, it really irritates the opposition. And isn't that too bad?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment wishes to augment the answer.
Just to augment the Honourable Premier's answer, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member has expressed an opinion, and he has as much right to his opinion as those who are knowledgeable, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Everton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a UN study which called upon the expertise of upwards of 1,000 scientists, international scientists, recently confirmed that there is global warming caused by greenhouse gases and that action must be taken immediately to begin to address this problem. This effective action will not occur unless we are prepared to set objectives to which we can strive. The Parliament of Canada in May of this year confirmed its commitment at least to the objective of stabilizing CO2 emissions in this country to 1988 levels by the year 2000. To the Minister of the Environment, will the Minister of the Environment please tell us whether on behalf of Alberta he is going to establish that objective for this province, and if not, why not?
Mr. Speaker, in conjunction with the energy sector and the public at large, we are now developing a clean air strategy for the province of Alberta. And what we would like to do is get a consensus as to what is achievable and how can we achieve those emission reductions by the year 2000. But I would like to inform the honourable member and members of this Assembly that indeed we have agreed to protocols that call for a 50% reduction in SO2. We have agreed to protocols that call for a reduction of automobile emissions by the year, a significant reduction by the year 1994. We have agreed to a protocol that calls for a reduction in volatile organic compound emissions. We've agreed to a protocol that calls for a reduction in surface ozone particles. So I think that we have gone a long way, Mr. Speaker, in reaching goals that are not only Alberta goals, but national and world objectives.
Right. The minister wants to be rewarded for running half the race. If you've agreed to all these other protocols, it seems quite simple for you to agree to a protocol on CO2. To the Minister of Agriculture, the National Farmers Union at its recent convention in April in this province passed a resolution calling for the reduction of carbon dioxide emissions in that industry or in activities related to that industry. Could the Minister of Agriculture please tell us whether he is aware of that resolution, what his thoughts are on that resolution, and whether he has taken it up with the Minister of the Environment?
Mr. Speaker, I cannot say that I'm aware of the resolution, but I will check it out.
Order, please. The time for question period has expired. Might we revert briefly to returns and tablings with unanimous consent? Agreed? Agreed. Opposed? The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and I apologize to the House for my oversight earlier today. I'm pleased to table the annual report of the College of Physical Therapists for the year ended February 28th, and as well I'm tabling response to question number 235.
Might we also revert to introduction of special guests? Agreed. Opposed? Carried. The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to introduce a group of students from the St. Rose School, 25, who are visiting our legislature today. I know all members will want to welcome them when they rise in the gallery. They are accompanied by Mr. Bill Kubluka, their teacher, and I would ask them to rise now and receive a warm welcome from the Assembly.
The Honourable Member for West Loch Sturgeon, followed by the Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure today to introduce to you, through you to the legislature, 50 students from the Public Landing Trail School. I must apologize to them first for not appearing to take a picture with them during question period, but I'm sure all members of the House will assure them that they're probably better off for that. But they're accompanied by their teachers, Mr. Craig, Heiter, and M. Smith, and also parents, F. Allen, Mrs. Buzak, and Mrs. Larson. They're in your public gallery, Mr. Speaker, and I'd ask them to stand and be recognized, get the usual warm welcome from the legislature.
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to introduce to you and through you to the members of the Legislative Assembly a group of 32 students from my constituency. They are a grade 6 class from Norwood Elementary School in Wetaskiwin, and they're accompanied by their teacher, Mr. Murphy, and several parents. They are seated in the members' gallery. I would ask that they rise and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly.
The Honourable Minister of Recreation and Parks.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to introduce to you and to the members of the Legislative Assembly 25 students, grade 6 students from Sedgwick Public School. They're here to look at parliamentary democracy, and I would ask that they perhaps not take the conduct of this question period as something that they could do in their own classroom. Some days, especially on Friday, we get a little vociferous. They are in the members' galleries, and they're accompanied by their teacher, Mr. Richard Payne, and parents, Mrs. Jeanette Patton, and Mrs. Gwenda Poyser. And I would ask them to rise and receive the cordial welcome of this House.
Orders of the day.
Government bills and orders for second reading. Bill 31, Honorable Mr. Isley.